Finding the proper agent and role for you can be hard. So hard in fact that every single person and their grandma decided that Duelist is the perfect fit for them.
Yeah, boy.
Insta-locking Jet or Reyna, thinking it will somehow make them good at the game. Well, I got bad news for you. It won't. So in today's video, I'm going to help you find the proper role and agent to fit your playstyle, allowing you to actually improve at the game instead of having to fill and hope for the best. With that being said, let's get right into it. Arguably the hardest and most impactful role in the game is the controller. If you are someone who likes to shot call, come up with plays, support your team, and be able to clutch out rounds, basically doing everything for everyone, then this role might be right for you. When picking this role, there are a couple things to keep in mind. The controller role doesn't only have to be played passively. In fact, you can play it however you want, as long as you are using your utility properly and supporting your team. And that is the huge misconception about the controller role. Each agent in this role has a kit that can be used passively or aggressively. Viper and Brim have mollies you can use to stall or delay a push or a defuse. They can also be used aggressively to push into the enemy or cut off angles so they can't escape. Omen has a blind you can use to stop an enemy push, which can also be used to push the enemy and catch them off guard. Harbor has his bubble shield. You can use it to hide and protect yourself, or you can use it to push through and catch the enemy off guard. Astra has a pull and stun that can be used to delay or vulnerable the team, making them an easy kill. And Clove, well, Clove is the ultimate aggressive controller, with a heal speed boost and an extra life allowing you to take first engagements, and if you do die, you can still place your smokes around you. She also has a vulnerable to help delay a push, or push into the enemies for free kills. If you master any of these agents, you can use them to play aggressively or passively, just like any other role in the game, making them a viable choice for anyone who likes to get kills. However, you do need to understand that their main purpose is to support the team, and that is why only a certain type of person should be playing this role. You cannot be selfish when playing controller. You have to always be watching the minimap and looking to use your utility first before you get aggressive, unlike other roles where you should be getting aggressive early with your utility. So if you like to be a playmaker and control the game for your team while also being able to play for yourself when the time is right, the controller role is perfect for you. However, if you know that you want to get into the action right away, I wouldn't suggest picking this role. When it comes to selecting which controller to use, you need to keep in mind the map you're playing and how you play the game. If you want to play more aggressively, you should pick an agent like Clove, Omen, Harbor, or Brimstone, and if you want to play more strategically and lurky, you should play someone like Viper or Astra, as their smokes can be placed at the beginning of the round or later in the round, and you don't need to be with your team to use them effectively. However, if you are solo queuing and you are the only controller on the team, unless you're playing Breeze, Lotus, or Bind, I would suggest sticking to Brimstone, Omen, and Clove, as they are very user-friendly and their smokes are more versatile, allowing you to cut off certain lines of sight a lot easier. If you do decide to become a controller main, you should find an agent you enjoy playing on each map that is viable as a solo controller and stick to them, giving yourself the best chance of winning. What's good, gamers? If you're getting any value out of this video, hit that sub button. We are so close to my 10k goal, it would be awesome if you did. If not, no worries. Much love. Now, if you're someone who enjoys using their utility to outthink and outplay their enemies, and you don't mind getting aggressive when playing, then the Initiator role may be perfect for you. When it comes to initiators, there are two kinds. You have your flash initiators and your recon initiators. Each one has its place in the meta, and each one can be used on any map as long as you play them properly. One thing you need to keep in mind, your main job is to help your duelist and team take space. That should always be your #1 priority, whether it's by flashing them onto a site or by reconning the site to make sure they have the information needed to take space. With that being said, if you want to play more strategically and don't want to get too aggressive, then the recon initiators are a good pick, as their kits are mainly used to collect info instead of playing aggressively. And that's not to say they can't be played this way, they're just better suited to play passively off of their utility. However, you can always use your utility to mess up the enemy's crosshair when taking engagements. But if you truly want to play aggressive and have the ability to make plays on your own as well as for your team, then a flash initiator is the way to go. These agents are great for playing with your team or taking early engagements for yourself. Learning the timing of your flashes and unique ways to use them will allow you to be versatile and effective in every game. When it comes to picking the proper agent to main, this will be personal preference. But as of right now, Sova, Sky, KO, and Gecko are the best initiators in the game. But that's not to say the other ones aren't good. I would suggest trying them all out and seeing which agent's utility you find the most comfortable for you, then spend time mastering them. Each agent can be viable if played correctly, so take some time and try out their kits. Find which one you like the best and practice it. Don't just play an agent because people say they are good. Doing this will allow you to develop your own unique playstyle. Just because an agent isn't meta doesn't mean they aren't viable. And speaking about unique playstyles, there is one that fits a select type of person. Someone who likes to get under people's skin, playing off their utility and finding timings to catch the enemy off guard and have them mauling in all chat. One of the most annoying playstyles to play against, but one of the most enjoyable to play if done properly, and that is the Sentinel Role. If you want to be able to anchor sites, coming up with unique and powerful setups to stop the enemies from pushing, while also being able to play slow and methodically, outthinking your enemies, creating timings, lurking behind them, and making them question their existence, then the Sentinel Role is perfect for you. When picking a Sentinel agent, it will come down to preference. However, right now Cypher is the most powerful in the game, with Sage being the weakest. Astro Chamber, he is considered a Sentinel, but I would only suggest playing him on certain maps that allow for his trip to actually cover flank. And also make sure your aim is good, as that is what makes him powerful. If you're going to play this role, I would highly suggest picking between Cypher and Killjoy, as their utility is the best for holding sites and covering flank, which is essentially the Sentinel's job. Sage and Deadlock are great as secondary Sentinels, but their inability to cover flank and get information from their utility makes them a lot weaker in this role. As the one thing you always need to keep in mind when playing Sentinel is to trip flank on attack, or trip certain entry points on defense so that your team doesn't need to watch them to get information. And if you do not do this, then you are actively throwing the game. Also keep in mind your job is to collect info and hold down bomb sites. And on attack, lurking is recommended, but always make sure you are tripping flank for the site your team is trying to plant on, not where you are going to lurk. If the Sentinel you pick cannot trip flank, you will most likely have a hard time ranking up. However, that's not to say you can't, I just wouldn't recommend it. And now for the role that everyone plays, yet almost no one plays it properly. The one and only Duelists. If you're someone who relies heavily on their mechanics, always wants to take the first engagements, doesn't mind dying first, and knows you can out-aim the entire lobby, then this role is a good suit for you. However, if you do not want to be playing aggressive at all times, even on defense, then you should not be playing this role. Keep in mind, you need to be taking space on attack for your team every single round, and you need to also be taking space on defense most rounds. So if you lock in Duelist and lurk or play passive, and make your teammates try an entry and take space without any abilities to do so, you are straight up throwing. With that being said, do not pick Duelist unless you actually want to play Duelist, and keep in mind, that may mean that you die first, a lot. Now that we have that out of the way, there are two types of Duelists, movement entries and support Duelists. Every Duelist has abilities to single-handedly take space for themselves or for their team, but in terms of pure entry potential, Jett, Raze, and Neon are the best. Reyna, Phoenix, and Yoru are also great, but they cannot use a movement ability to disrupt crosshair placement and send the enemies into panic mode. So I would strongly suggest you learn to play one of the movement Duelists if you want to get the most out of your role. Jett is the most picked agent as she is very user-friendly and extremely powerful. However, if you get comfortable playing Raze and Neon, they can be just as deadly if not more, but keep in mind to play them properly, it's a lot harder than Jett. Also, when picking a Duelist, look at your team comp and always look at the map you're playing and pick accordingly. If your team already has an entry Duelist, you can pick a support Duelist and vice versa. However, there should always be an entry Duelist on each team. Remember, the Duelist role is flashy and it's fun, but if it's not played properly, it will be the difference between winning games and losing games. So be honest with yourself. Do you really want to be the first one in as a sacrificial pawn, always taking fights and attempting to out-aim everyone, or not? If you don't, that's fine. Just don't pick Duelist, and go with a more suitable role for the way your brain works. Each role in this game can be a hard carry if played correctly, and the only way for this to truly happen is if a person picks a role that fits their specific playstyle and they take time to actually master that agent's utility and get very good at them. Whenever you are queuing into a game, the agent you pick should be map and team comp focused. This is why you should have a main role that you play and a few different agents in that role depending on the map you get. You should never be only comfortable playing one agent. This is going to limit your ability to win games and improve as a player. So once you have picked the role you think suits your playstyle, pick an agent you think you would play the best, call them your main, and play them on most maps. However, if there's a map that agent isn't the best on, then learn a secondary agent in your role of choice that is better suited for it. You should also pick a sub role that you can fill into in case your role and agent get picked. One thing you never want to do is get stuck playing a role and agent you are not comfortable on. So as time goes on, start expanding your agent pool, allowing you to fill at least 2 different roles depending on what agents are picked in queue. And if you want to learn how to properly outthink your enemies and play your agent to the best of their ability by unlocking godlike game sense, go ahead and check out this video next.